I've noticed that my thesis on nihilism may not have been communicated as well as I wished it had in the past, and I want to take some time today to lay it out in a way that is broken down to the essentials. Nihilism is a formidable philosophical concept. Doubt is easy to understand, and it can often feel like it is easier to be a skeptic than to believe anything. However, I believe this is just a feeling. There are an indefinite number of moral decisions to be made throughout the day, and we as humans need worldviews to bring these problems into a manageable resolution. When we encounter a stranger on the street, we can smile, frown, give him a gift, cuss him out, stare blankly, ask him how he's doing. We could lie, say we are from Mars and want to eat his brains, and you can even ignore him. While culture does tend to provide restrictions on these actions, I want to address the moral aspect of this interaction. No matter your decision in this interaction, you require a decision maker. One may point out that the reaction could be merely random, yet we're looking at a myriad of possibilities, and the chance that you landed on one that is recognizably culturally appropriate is nearly impossible. This is the practical criticism of nihilism. The most famous self-proclaimed nihilists in history tend to act the most consistently within a given framework. Marquis de Sade challenged the existence of moral values. However, he found himself quite annoyed that he was continually jailed for just doing what he wanted to do. In truth, Marquis de Sade was just a self-centered egoist to the extreme. On the other hand, you have J.L. Mackie, whom I cannot find much personal information on. However, I do know two things. He was married, and he was intellectually honest enough to work at Oxford until his death. To me, that does not sound too far off from a basic Protestant ethic. When we try to challenge the moral system, we're just playing into it further and further. Our true philosophy is not held in our minds. How could it be? If I claimed to believe in the sacredness of all life, yet continued to eat factory farmed meat, you would think I was ridiculous. Belief is not held only in the mind, but it is in your whole person. Lived experience testifies to your deepest held beliefs more than you could ever put into words. If you happen to call yourself a nihilist, or anything else for that matter, I implore you to ask yourself what lies at the root of the decisions you make. For some, it may be fun. Everything must be in the service of having a good time, or maybe a utilitarian ethic, where you're looking for the best physical outcome of any given situation. However, I get a sneaking suspicion that for many, your morality is more baked into your being than you expect. This is where I believe the nihilist-based depression comes from. A disconnect between your actions and the source. Imagine all that you find good in the world is the fruit of an ancient tree. The fruit is the greatest thing anyone has ever tasted, and is all you ever need to eat. The harvest was abundant, and leftovers could feed a whole generation. However, the tree was unsightly and got in the way of cultivating other crops that our ancestors desperately wanted. So they cut down the ancient tree, thinking that the fruit was at least enough for their own lives, and by the time the next generation came, they would be able to live off the new crops. As time went on, the new crop never came to fruition, and the stores began to run out. Fights would break out over everything. But few knew that at the core of each fruit was a seed. With time and care, the seed can be fostered into a tree, like the one that had fed everyone in the past. But this would take time and hard work. This fruit is everything you find truly important. Human rights and respect, a just society, care for the most vulnerable, and many other values like these. When the harvest dries up, we will be left hungry and afraid. Find the seed and foster it. In this sense, you are also the soil that it will rest in. Embody this tree and be part of the solution. I'll play a clip to exit us out, but I humbly ask that you don't walk away thinking I'm disconnected from this. This whole piece is made out of personal experience. Nihilism is not a place you want to stay. At the worst, it is a pit of despair. and at best, it is a lie that you say to protect yourself from recognizing where your true values lie. To quote Martin Luther King Jr., "The day we see the truth and cease to speak it is the day we begin to die." Thank you. And I'll let this play us out.
Very personal story. I don't know to what extent it's useful, but on a very personal level, I went through a period of crisis, very personal crisis of fear, anxiety, depression. I went to the best therapists money can pay. I think they gave me an explanation of some of the things that I was struggling with, but I continued to have this big spiritual hole or need, as you call it. I tried to self-medicate. I tried to sedate myself. I drank enough alcohol you could use to sterilize a hospital. It would not, nothing helped. I continued to read, books on psychiatry and the brain, and none of that helped. All of that explained a small piece of the puzzle, but there was still something that I was missing. And then I think it was one therapist who said to me early this year, "I think, Ayaan, you're spiritually bankrupt." And at that point, I was in a place where I had sort of given up hope. I was in this place of darkness, and I thought, well, what the hell? I'm going to open myself to that and see, asked her, "What are you talking about?" And we started talking about faith and a belief in God, and I explained to her that the God I grew up with was a horror show. He created you to punish you and frightened you, and as a girl and as a woman, you're just a piece of trash. And so I said to her, I explained to her why I didn't believe in God, and more than that, why I actually hated God. And then she asked me to design my own God, and she said, if you had the power to, attribute a higher power, if you had the power to make your own God, what would you do? And as I was going on, I thought, yeah, right. That's actually a description of Jesus Christ and Christianity at its best. And so instead of inventing yet another new God, I started diving into that story. And so far, my husband and I went about, both of us saying we're atheists, and now I like this story. I exploit, and the more I look at it, the more, I don't want to say I'm fulfilled, but I feel I no longer have this need, this void, I have to say, and I feel like I'm going somewhere. There are standards that I have to live by that are quite high, and that's daunting. But these are standards that I'd rather aspire to and fail. Maybe the only human being who nearly achieved that was the late Queen Elizabeth. But trying to emulate her is this daily practice of hardship.
Well, she never did interviews, so makes it easier.
Yeah.
I think that says everything that I wanted to say. And, yeah. Do the hard work. It's worth it. And there's any number of reasons why we are where we are right now. Be a part of the solution. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you all for watching and for making it this far, and I'll see you next Saturday.